Triple blessings to you all. Welcome back to another episode of Discuss Foundation. Today we're going to be covering Season 1, Episode 9, The First Crisis. Brian, can you tell me who directed and wrote The First Crisis?
It is from so far one of my favorite directors, Roxanne Dawson, and written by Victoria Morrow.
Awesome, guys. As always, for an overview here, we are going to go into our general feelings on the podcast to start, where we think the episode ranks in relation to the others. We're going to hit into a recap where we kind of go into a little more specifically about the episode and our thoughts about it scene by scene. And then lastly, we're going to give our predictions on where we think the episode's going to go in the next one, which should be fun. Before I kick it over to Brian for his thoughts on the episode, I do want to give a quick disclaimer. We have not read Isaac Asimov's book series, so if you guys are looking for kind of content that's related to the differences with the books or how something relates to the books, we're not the podcast for that, unfortunately, but there are definitely podcasts out there that tackle that subject matter, so keep an eye out for those. I know Apple has an official one as well. I did want to take a quick moment, guys, to thank all of you for subscribing to the channel. It's been so awesome going through this season with you guys and talking about theories and having discussions in the chat. You guys have been like awesome and supportive and engaging in there. So I just want to thank all you guys for contributing and being a part of the channel and subscribing. We have had a lot of fun doing this podcast so far. This is our first kind of Discuss podcast after show, and we're going to continue it on here after the end of this season. We only have one more episode after this one.
Yeah,
we are continuing it on. Yeah, unfortunately. But we are going to continue on the Discuss podcast. We are just announced yesterday. We're going to be doing Discuss Hawkeye, the Hawkeye original Marvel series. We're going to do an after show for that. It's going to be me and my friend Jace are going to be doing a podcast for Hawkeye, man. So I have the trailer linked here, so make sure to check that out. And if you guys are going to watch that show, come join us and be a part of the discussion. It's going to be a really fun time.
If there's any show you guys have coming out or you want to see covered, let us know. Put it in the chat, put it in the description, and we'll discuss it. Nick will see who he could co-host with and stuff like that and go from there. But so definitely, if there's a show that's coming up soon and you're like, hey, I want you guys to cover it, drop it there.
Absolutely, guys. We are always open to suggestions. I have very eclectic taste in TV, so don't feel free to throw everything in there that you think would make for a really fun after show podcast, and we'll definitely take a look at it. But with that exciting news out of the way, Brian, what were your thoughts on Season 1, Episode 9, The First Crisis?
So I'm going to read exactly what I sent to you after I saw the episode.
Yeah.
And it goes like this. I saw the episode during my lunch break, and holy shit, is it good? Well, it was okay. Just an episode. The reason why I was like, holy shit, was because of the ending. The ending of the episode was like, it made sense, and I get it, and it was a really cool take on it. A lot of interesting things when we get there to that point, but it gave us so many things that we've been wanting. It answered a lot of the questions that we didn't know about, and I just loved how well constructed this episode was. Everything about it was good. It was bright. It was moving. The storytelling was unique. And I didn't feel lost. I didn't feel like guessing like what the hell is going on, like some of the episodes. So definitely one of my favorite episodes so far. I know I keep saying almost after everyone like, oh, that's my favorite episode, but this episode builds up perfectly to the finale, and it does its job, which I really enjoy the build-up episodes. And when they do a good job building it up, it's just a really great thing for the final episode because it takes care of so many different things and doesn't rely on the final episode to answer other stuff. So yeah, definitely enjoyed this one. What about you? What were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so just to put a bow on it too, is this your favorite, just for people that are like, I guess, ranking it, I guess, or whatever? Would you say this is your favorite one of the season?
I might have to say yes, because I know Barbarians at the Gate was one of my favorite ones, and I really enjoyed that one a lot. I think this overtakes Barbarians. I think this is my favorite just because to me it was like the perfect setup to the final episode, and the fact that it was that good of a setup, I have to put up there.
And every season, the penultimate episode is the episode right before the finale, and generally that's where all the banger stuff happens. That's where like all the consequential stuff occurs, and this was definitely no different. I was kind of expecting that because shows usually episode 9 of a 10 episode season is the one where everyone's like, oh my god, did that really just happen? And this kind of was that episode as well. I really enjoyed this episode. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I don't know. Maybe if I sit with this longer, just disclaimer for you guys. I watched this right before we're recording, so it's kind of raw for me as much. There's still a lot of questions swirling in my head that I'm sure we'll get to. Maybe I'll flesh this out as we talk about it. But as of right now, yeah, I'd say it's like definitely like a top 2 or 3 episode for me. It's really fun.
Okay.
Foundation is at its best when it's moving fairly quickly,
Yes.
and it's not quickly on like a time scale, but quickly in pacing.
Yeah.
And kind of having a lot of events and plots occur. I think because of the visuals and everything, it's just so dynamic when they do that, and they're not bogged down in kind of inconsistent character stuff that they've struggled with, in my opinion, throughout the season. So I had a lot of fun with it. But we're gonna go ahead and dial down and get into this recap here.
Yes.
A lot of stuff to talk about in this one, so we're gonna try to not waste too much time. The episode starts with a really fun kind of flashback with Abbas. We've been
Yes.
me and you both like Abbas, the actor that plays him, and the character
yeah.
as well. So there was a fun little Abbas scene. What kind of stood out to you about that flashback with Salvor and Abbas?
It should have happened like 5 episodes ago to build the connections before he died.
Mhm.
But I liked it because it gave him and her a connection that we were wanting, that we were like dreaming for. And you saw a young Salvor and you connect to him, and it was something that we've been dying for, the connection to these characters. And it was just really, really, really great that we got to see an intimate moment between them. So I enjoyed it so much just to see the connection.
It fleshed out a connection like after he had already gone, and it was like, I don't know, had we kind of seen that connection there, it probably would have made his death a little more impactful, I think. And that's kind of what we talked about in that episode. So but better late than never, we get this cool kind of emotional scene between them, and
Yep.
it's kind of needed, and or it's welcomed at least. There was a couple things. Abbas was out there just dropping straight truth bombs throughout that entire scene. He said some stuff that I wrote down that I thought was really interesting. You guys can let me know if this is in the books or if this was from the show. I'm assuming it's from the books just because I feel like it's really well written. But he says sometimes emotions shout louder than logic. I thought that was a really good line.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something she echoes later in the episode as well. Also, he says violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. I think that's a really good line too. And I think I've heard people that read the books say that before. So I think that's straight out of the books as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to get into kind of where I think that's really resonant with her character later. Also, before there's narration from Gale, like there's been in a couple episodes as well.
Yeah.
It makes you kind of call into question, like this seems like it's a past reflection from Gale, which makes you think that, okay, well, wherever we are, like wherever this ends up, Gale is there because she's like referring to everything in a past tense, which I
Yeah.
think is interesting, and it kind of adds a dimension to her character as well. So we jump straight from that into this kind of disorientation scene of Salvor jumping in the jump ship. She's the only one that's conscious, I'm assuming, throughout that process there, and she's seeing like flashes of the past and the
Yeah.
and
'Cause
seeing
it's a-
like and seeing like kind of time kind of jumble together and stuff.
Yeah, because it's kind of unique how they do it in that stuff. Because you also kind of think that her flashback with her father was part of that jump sequence.
Mhm.
So that was like a really cool transition from those two. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought it like
Oh, no,
when
no,
you
no.
brought it up, that it was a really cool transition that she had her father, and then it's her to this orientation in the jump, in the middle of the jump and stuff like that.
Yeah, going from a flashback to like this jumbled time mess is a really good way to kind of visualize that disorientation. I think that was a cool
Yeah.
directorial choice by, what was her name that did the directing? Do you know?
Roxanne Dawson.
Roxanne Dawson. Yeah, I thought that was a really good directorial choice there. So I thought initially that Salvor must be like psychically guided them through the jump. I thought maybe her powers or something guided them through the jump, but she
Yeah.
reveals that Lewis looks like he
Yes.
went into the Matrix. He jacked into the Matrix to guide them to Terminus and sacrificed himself. It was a noble end to a very immoral kind of lame character that me and you were both kind of happy had passed. But
Like-
hey man, he
redeemed
it's a redeeming act in the ninth inning there for Lewis.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, he got shot. He's done. And it's like, oh, they jumped. Oh, okay. I mean, I guess he did something nice. He kind of saved the day.
Yeah. He's last minute. I mean, I'm still glad he's not going to be a part of seasons going forward or whatever. But
For real.
hey, he did something right, so that was good. Then the question that started coming up to me was a prediction that you had made in the last episode. You said that you thought that they were going to jump in Invictus and that they were going to jump through time potentially. And I
Yes.
thought when they did the flashback to her jumping and it was showing time kind of being jumbled, I was like, oh, Brian might be onto it here. I think like they may be like it may be going through some kind of time vortex or something like
Yeah.
that is what I was thinking. And we'll talk about whether or not that turned out to be the case or not later. So my main question was when she jumped and she saw Terminus, I said, okay, we know where we are, but when are we? I didn't know when we were.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, wow, this may be like thousands of years in the future, thousands of years in the past, whatever, because you wouldn't know just looking at the planet's surface. So that's kind of the questions that were in my head there. And then the last thing I wrote down was the Beck. I think she says the Becker. Was that the name of the ship, Hugo's ship?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
So
takes over the Becker.
yeah, she sees, I guess, the Becker, and that's when she makes the decision that she's going to do what she's going to do in the scene after this that we'll get to
Yes.
momentarily.
After this, we go to where she makes the decision, and then his brother Don and Azura, where Azura goes and tells brother Don about ancient tunnels, ancient ruins to help him escape the palace or the castle or wherever he's at.
Yeah, so they're looking at their little holographic blueprints, and she is, I guess they're coming up with some kind of far-fetched escape plan that's going to work there. And she's providing him hope that he can get out of this kind of Orwellian
Nightmare
situation that he finds himself in. Yeah, she gives him kind of tips on how to, like the tunnels and stuff like that. And then we go to this. I think probably, like, looking back on it, probably one of my favorite scenes in the episode.
Oh my God, yes.
Really, really cool episode. But we go to this awesome corridor. It's super, like, the visuals in this scene were super well done. The colors were, like, gorgeous. The mural work was, like, amazing. But Brother Dawn goes to see Brother Dusk, who is called to that big hallway where they write the murals, and they go into the lore of how it's Dusk's job to kind of keep up these murals and paint these paintings that showcase their achievements and follies of the past, so that they know kind of it's their record, the way of record keeping for the Imperial Dynasty. What did you think about this scene with Day and Dusk and everything in the mural?
I thought it was very well framed, especially at the beginning where they're standing and you have the light in the middle of them, and you just see the paintings there and how vast it is. It's really unique that they did that. I love how the textures of the walls move. It's very well lit. The historical context of the mural, we got it before in the first 2 episodes. They kind of talked about it a little bit. They referenced it. We saw the one where they painted it and then they got rid of it. They killed one of the painters. And this is the first time we got to see it be used as a tool, which was really cool and really unique. That I really did enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I thought it looked amazing. There was a couple little points that I wanted to hit on in this scene, which was the we talked about before when they were on their hunting trip. Brother Dawn killed those 6 raptors, right? And we're gonna get to that in a second. But his assistant that was helping him was there, and we said later that I thought his assistant betrayed him and talked to the Shadow Master, and that's how they were able to find the other raptors. That's kind of a prediction I made way in the past that turned out to be true. You can see the assistant behind Brother Dusk looking like a shameful tattletale that he is.
They foreshadow that there's 6 raptors on the mural before they show Brother Day until they reveal it to him. So that was really cool and really unique that they did that.
I just thought visually this scene was gorgeous. I remember thinking like, wow, this looks so cool, the lighting and all that kind of stuff. So just to get into it as well, Brother Dawn is telling him these are our achievements. It is my job to kind of keep record, and he says, I've added you to the record. So Brother Dawn is kind of taken aback and flattered and says, oh wow, I've done something to make it onto the mural. And he shows his 3 raptors that he shot during their hunting trip. And again, I want to touch on something that they touched in the beginning of the episode as well, but this whole episode has a theme that we're going to dive into a little more, but the whole theme is about record keeping and about the people who are responsible for writing the history are responsible for kind of how it's painted and how it's perceived by everyone as well. I think I wrote the quote at the beginning says, under the right scribe, a lie can become the truth. I think that was a really impactful line there, but it manifests in a lot of different ways in this episode that we'll definitely get into. The first one being here, Dusk writing the history on the walls very much from his perspective, where other people could maybe see these murals as terrible war crimes. They're kind of because it's Dusk and the Imperial Dynasty writing them. They're done very majestically and stuff like that. So he shows Dawn the 3 raptors and says, you've made it onto the wall. And then he very intensely kind of grabs him and says to kind of take time and let his achievement soak in, or something along those lines, where he's looking at the mural and really lets it soak in. So Brother Dawn pulls out the gadgets that Azura gave him that correct his color blindness. So he puts them to his temple, and only to see that there were three other raptors painted in the color that Brother Dawn is blind in, thus revealing that Brother Dusk knows of his differences, and he knows that he was testing him to
Yep.
see if he was going to lie to him or not, and test to see if he was colorblind. So the failed test happens and Dawn freaks out. So yeah, he sees the four raptors. I thought that was a great reveal. I thought that was such an awesome way to finally reveal that Brother Dusk knows what's going on. It was such a visual way to do that. And I just remember thinking, oh, that's, you've got these gorgeous murals and you're hiding these raptors in color, that are invisible to someone that's colorblind. I just thought that was a
Yeah.
really inspired choice and stuff that they did. What did you think about that review?
It's perfect because it was his greatest weakness, because he asked Azura, what's the color of the garden? I've never been able to see the true colors of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it brings a lot of foreshadowing that color is his weakness. Color is his downside, because he's been able to do everything perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he knows the mannerisms, the hand gestures, the vocal tones, and things like that, but he doesn't know the color palette. He doesn't
Yeah.
know the color. I liked it. I really love that they used color, like a very harmless thing, as a weapon.
Yeah, they improve on something that we've been critical of in past episodes, which is the whole setup and payoff being so close to each other.
Yeah.
It reminds me, I was like, if this one would not have been nearly as impactful if in the beginning of the episode was when they revealed he was colorblind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this has been like 3 or 4 episodes back that we've had that reveal of his colorblindness, and it's kind of been building. And for them to pay off this thread now is just so much more impactful in this way. Like you said about the foreshadowing, I just think it makes it so much more effective.
Yeah.
So Brother Dawn is packing feverishly. He's trying to get out of there. He's going to have to use his escape plan a little early. In comes the Shadow Master Obrecht, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You guys can correct me.
Obrecht.
Yeah, Shadow Master Obrecht, and he comes in. I can definitely see him like in later seasons becoming one of my favorite characters. He's such a badass. That guy. He's really cool. Yeah, he comes in very stoic and just says, we need to go see Brother Dusk, and starts forcing him out. Brother Dawn realizes that he needs to get away, so he uses his Imperial aura to knock out Shadow Master Obrecht. The hardest thing about this is remembering when the scene ends and picks back up. So it ends with him getting flushed down the giant Imperial toilet. The very impressive giant Imperial toilet. So they also mention that I thought was just a really quick note. They say Hyperloop Station, and I thought that was funny because it's a sci-fi show, and they're like, oh, the Hyperloop is that maglev kind of design that Elon Musk came up with. I just thought that was funny that they add that in, like, oh yeah, we have a Hyperloop Station, I guess. I don't know, I doubt that was in Asimov's book, but I guess they're laying Easter eggs for kind of nerdy futurists like us, I guess. So Salvor wakes up. She goes. So she says she sees the Becker, and she has an idea. The Becker must have came with him in the quantum wake as well.
Yeah.
And she is still slave to that ship, or the ship is still slave to her. I'm sorry. So she's able to kind of control it. So she makes the decision, hey, I'm gonna just jump and use my my small reserves of kind of jetpack to get to the ship. It's kind of a tense thing. She makes it just in time and gets onto the ship there, and that's when she sees the debris. And I'm hoping maybe you can clarify something for me in here. They say there's debris approaching the ship, and that the threat level is like not bad, and then it's moderate, and then it's severe, and it's revealed to be Hugo. And I'm wondering, do you know, because I don't know if it's, maybe I just couldn't see it in the shot. Do you know if he was floating to her like out of a ship, or he was in a ship?
I don't,
because I don't know why it would say that the ship is debris. You think that ship would be able to realize that it's a ship and not debris coming at her?
Yeah, I think it's just him.
You think it's just him? Okay.
Yeah, because I pulled it up right now, and she's doing like, okay, I'm gonna be conscious. I'm gonna use my feels, and she realizes it's Hugo right before she hits the button.
Yeah. So
he's like floating towards her.
Right. I don't understand that at all, and we'll get to that in a second here, because I want to talk about the how she gets there to begin with. Yeah, so Salvor jumps, uses the jetpack to get to the ship. She makes it on board, and then we kick it right back to Dawn, who has been flushed down the Imperial toilet, like we said, and now he is in kind of a refugee camp, it looks like, of sorts for the Imperium, where he's seeing a lot of the results of his genetic dynasty. Seeing a lot of poverty, a lot of like broken people and poor people there in this impoverished part. he walks around, kind of getting a gauge of his
Yep.
surroundings. I was wondering like when someone's gonna recognize him because I feel like he would be a very recognizable person in that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, did anything jump out at you in that scene before I kind of go into more of the plot on it?
It was a great look at the impoverished state. It was a great look that you would have feeders at the end of the Imperial or the Grand Imperial toilet because they are going to scavenge whatever they can. They're down on their luck. So
True.
yes, to what's going on right now with some homeless where they hang out by restaurants, by
Right.
well-to-do areas because they know that they can eat from the dumpster. So it's just kind of a unique parallel that they have there with that.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I didn't put that together, but that makes sense. It's probably a very fruitful place to hide out if you've got all of that, all of the massive resources of the Imperium kind of being flushed that way. So that would make sense. It would be a kind of an opportune place to hide out. He goes and finds a guy in a. Do you know in Zoolander when they're modeling trash? You
Yeah,
remember his
I
jacket
remember
kind of
that.
looks like his jacket kind of looks like that to me. He trades his Imperial aura for like a crusty jacket, and I was like, "What?" Like he could have gotten so much more for that, but I totally get it. He kind of talks about it later in the thing that it was really just to kind of disguise himself, which makes a lot of sense. But at the time,
Yeah.
I remember thinking like he could have gotten so much more for that like indestructible aura that you give somebody for like a crusty jacket. I would have asked for everything he had.
Well, it was unique because it wasn't just the disguise; it also kept him cool and kept him warm from the elements. Because
Right.
he's been in such a controlled location that he hasn't really had to fare the elements like that in his entire life. And that so this is the first time he has to like, okay, here's wind, here's the cold, have fun, bye.
So it goes from that. The guy gives him directions on how to get to where I guess Azora lives, and he
Yep.
he kind of knows where Azora lives, so he's getting directions there. It cuts back to I want to say the Becker, and I might be wrong. Is that the name of Hugo's ship, the Becker? Does it say it all? And it cuts back to that ship there, and that's when we get the reveal. She has scanned Terminus and found that there's no comm relays down there, so it seems like everyone's dead. And again, at this point, I don't know when we are, so I'm thinking like, well, it would make sense that there's no one there if we're like 3,000 years in the future or 3,000 years in the past. I still thought your time travel theory was holding up at this point.
Yeah, I thought
So
so too. I was like, yes, maybe that's how like she could see where the vault came and all that stuff.
right. So she tells Hugo, says, let's get out of here and let's just kind of live out our remaining days in happiness or whatever. And she says, I can't. I'm kind of drawn to this and I have to see this through. So she's making the kind of heroic choice here.
Yeah.
And then again, for clarification too, do you know? So if Hugo floated there without a ship, how is he leaving? Like, is somebody picking him up? Are the Thespins flying to pick him up or something? Or
I
I
think
it was a
yeah,
little
I
vague to me because it just shows like smoke. He goes into an airlock, there's a bunch of smoke, and I was like, is she just like ejecting him out in his face and he's gonna float somewhere again? It's a super minor nitpick because I mean they could if they showed a ship it wouldn't change anything anyway. I just remember thinking that kind of stood out to me as like, wait, is he just floating there with his body and just like you know, and then I don't know.
that was a unique scene before we get back to Brother Don. It's just like it shows that Hugo loves Salvor no matter what, no matter who she is. He will always love her for what for who she is as a person. That she has nothing. She's just a person on an abandoned planet, and he loves her for all that stuff. And when they talk about her going down and not giving up the people and stuff like that, it shows that he will follow her no matter what. And I really do love that they've been setting that up. They've been showing that you've been seeing it and having this point where he admits it, like, I love you no matter what, but I know you'll never love me as much as you love Terminus or the people there. And it's great. I love it. I love that they were able to include that.
It's a higher calling for her where it's
Yeah.
like despite her feelings she has to fulfill this and go through with it. I think it's a good point like you made is that I think the reason their relationship it works at this point is because she's constantly been questioned by herself and by others, all on Terminus and her
Yeah.
parents, about her intuition and about whether or not what it is something that is good or bad, essentially.
Yeah.
And Hugo's always been the one that's just been 100% ride or die with whatever her intuition is. Like
Yep.
he's with her no matter what. If she says she has a feeling about something, he never questions it. He just goes like, okay, well, let's that's what it has to be. So it makes sense their connection just because he's so kind of loyal to and kind of trusts her
Yeah.
intuition more than even she does, I think. So it goes from that scene to Brother Don back We are in
Yes.
kind of a Blade Runner-esque kind of bustling kind of metropolitan area that's beneath the scar, and they made a point that it's beneath the scar where I think they say many people saw it as a crisis or like a horrible thing, but many also saw it as an opportunity, and they love
To
that they're
finally
beneath the
see
stars.
clouds and
Mm-hmm.
stars and stuff like that. And
Right.
what I love, what was so unique about this episode, and what I love so much about it, was like how he was walking to her place. He was like what she was telling him, describing how her journey home was in the earlier episodes. He got to see it firsthand, and I love the fact that they put her in there, kind of like buying the stuff from the vendor, and how they have something cut across the screen and she's not there, but the vendor's still there. So it was really unique. And then the kids playing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a very beautiful, brightful scene because you feel like he finally becomes a part of her world. And he's like, oh my God, this is what you see every day. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they put her in all those scenes.
Yeah, this is a weird reference for this show, but I think I wrote down he reminds me of Jasmine in Aladdin. You know how she's like out of the palace and she's seeing like all
Yeah.
the stuff and she's like very she wants to be a part of like kind of more lower class life, a more interesting lower class life. And Azor is very much like the Aladdin character that's, you know,
Yeah.
in this scene, but I kind of wrote that down. I thought that was there were kind of parallels between those characters there. Yeah, I thought it was really tastefully done how he was seeing kind of flashes of her and kind of picturing her life in this setting and all that kind of thing. And it makes kind of what happens later all the more heartbreaking for him. He goes to her apartment. She seemed kind of surprised to see him. I mean, not too much happens. They're just kind of connecting on a character level. And then he leaves the room. He comes back in and she's gone. And then it's revealed that she comes back in the room with the gun and starts shooting at him. I'll give myself some pats on the back here because I think like 3 episodes ago I said she's definitely gonna betray him. I
Yeah.
was like she's 100% gonna betray him. I didn't get how correctly, so I will give the show a lot of credit for that because I didn't really see a lot of the stuff that they did
Yeah.
plot point wise with that. But she does betray him. She starts shooting at him. He runs through the market and he bumps into some
Unsavory folks.
unsavory characters that knock him to the ground, and he sees himself. So we see like Brother Dawn. At this point, did you
Yes.
think what I thought was at this point was Brother Dusk already activated the test tube kid, and that
Yes.
the
I thought
test
so.
tube kid comes to hunt him? That's what I was like thought happened in that scene there.
I thought so
Um,
too, because like just like the pure shock is like, oh crap! So they did that quick,
mhm.
and and it kind of made sense that you automatically think that it's the test tube baby because of the implant in the brain. Like they has this shared memory, so it's like he'll know exactly where he was all the way up into the to
Right.
that point.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. He would kind of know all of his memories up until he was activated. So he would kind of know kind of where they were going, which would make a lot of sense. But I don't have an issue with where they took it because I think it's kind of equally as interesting to me too. Yeah, he sees himself, and then we're cut back to Hugo on the Invictus with the Thespin soldiers. Salvor has tasked him with hopefully disabling the jump drives
Yes.
so that they can use the Invictus instead of destroying it. They do kind of gloss over how they disable the jump drives. I don't did
Well,
yeah,
I
you
mean
know what I mean?
they
They're
had
kind of like
33 hours to figure it out. So
I guess so, yeah. And I but did they because they end up on Terminus in the final scene and I don't know if it's been 33 hours since, you know what I mean? So I don't know that kind of
yeah.
tossed that kind of threw me for a loop a little bit there. I remember thinking like, wait, Hugo's here. Does that mean that they disabled the jump drives? And the assumption is with the way Salvor was talking to Farah and stuff towards the end of the episode is that they did. So
Yeah.
yeah, it seemed weird. They didn't show how they disabled the jump drives. It seems like it would be pretty easy if they were able to kind of do it that quickly. So that was a little weird to me.
Yeah. And
Um,
at the same time, they also have more people than what Farah had, because Farah literally just had like her boy was it Corwin?
no, it's Rowan.
Rowan. Sorry. So it's
Mhm.
her, Rowan, Sal, Random Arachnid, another one, and like 4 or 5 people from Terminus. So it's like it kind of makes sense that Thespins had probably more people, so they were able to figure it out quicker.
Yeah,
Or they had the
maybe.
technology.
But I mean, Farah was trying to use like the all the people from the foundation who are like leaders of their field and stuff. This
Yeah.
seemed like a tough nut to crack from what I was getting from that. And yeah, I don't have that much of an issue with it. I just wish they would have kind of showed like it seemed really easy for them to just disable the jump drives. You
Yeah.
know, I don't
Yeah, a
know.
little bit.
So it goes back to Salvor on Terminus. She's there, and we're
Yes.
seeing this kind of mass genocide. It looks like mass genocide of all these kind of bodies strewn along the floor. I remember thinking like, wow, all those people are dead.
I
There's a lot
know.
of there was a lot of vague pulse checking that I thought kind of got tiresome. Where I was like, okay, like you know, and she seemed I don't know if it was the performance, but it seemed very vague as to whether or not they were dead or alive. I couldn't tell if she's happy or like you know what I mean? I can't remember. She was checking pulses, and I remember going like, "Wait, is it dead? Are they dead or alive?" I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, because
But
she gave no indication. It's like moving on,
yeah,
moving on. I'm
yeah,
like,
right.
Are they dead? Are they alive? Come on, we need something. Just be like,
Yeah, I
okay, he's
had no
alive.
idea. Maybe the show did that on purpose to kind of keep the tension high, I guess, throughout the scene or
That's
something.
very true.
But the null field has expanded, like
Yes.
was kind of foreshadowed in the past episode that was going to happen, and it's expanded pretty quickly, considering this is where we get our answer, by the way, that Brian's prediction unfortunately did not turn out to be correct. They didn't jump
No,
through time
they
because I
did
remember
not.
thinking like if they did, these bodies would all be decomposed at this point or something if it was far into the
Yeah.
future. So they didn't jump in time; they just jumped straight to Terminus. And it seems like in the time that they've been gone, the null field has expanded to a crazy degree where pretty much everything on the planet is knocked out,
Yeah.
unconscious. So Salvor is kind of walking along, taking stock of her friends and family and kind of their status. And she sees the vault, and she
Yep.
goes towards the vault to try to figure out what all this is about. She finds her mother right near the
Yes.
vault, and her mother has the Prime Radiant, the little flip and toss Rubik's cube of knowledge that Harry uses. She finds the Prime Radiant, and Salvor is going to give it another shot. Right? What did you think about the scene where she gets to Terminus and finds the Prime Radiant and stuff? Did anything jump out at you?
It did because she saw it. She knows that it's important to her, and we got to see more of her powers, more of
Mm.
her. What is she? What is she able to do? What lies within her? So it was really unique that she kind of mirrored what Gail did of how she figured out how to open up the prime radius,
Mm-hmm.
but using everybody else's memories to do it because she never really saw it open for the world to see. So I thought it was really, really cool that she's mimicking it and she's just getting used to the whole what do I do next and just letting it come to her.
Yes, and letting it come to her is a really good line for that too, because one of the things I wrote down that I like that they did is they cut to the scene of a boss saying, "Open your fist, Salvo." It's like
Yeah.
stop trying to control everything and just kind of let life occur. I thought that was a really great callback in that
Yes.
scene. And it kind of again, I think you're right. I think the direction in this one was really good, in the way that they kind of utilized those flashbacks and utilized those
Yeah.
foreshadowed moments from the past and paid those off. I thought it was really well done. Salvor seems to be able to access Gale's lived experience. We've seen this a
Yeah.
couple times in the past where when she went in and walked in on Harry being murdered, Salvor was kind of standing where Gale was standing and kind of dressed in the same clothes as she was dressed in. It seems like she's able to access Gale's perspective and consciousness in certain situations. Um,
Yeah.
and she uses that to figure out how Harry opens the Prime Radiant. She uses that kind of intuition and ability to see Gale's lived experience to figure out how to open the Prime Radiant. And when she does, we get this crazy, elaborate sci-fi moment
Oh yeah.
where the Foundation seems to be open. Or sorry, the vault. I keep saying foundation because I'm getting into a theory later that I have about it, but um, I'm saying that anyway. She gets to the scene where she opens a prime radiant and the vault kind of unlocks. She's unlocked the vault. The prime radiant seems to have been the key, and we see the metallic black of the vault melt away, and it's this huge kind of it kind of mirrors the prime radiant a little bit.
Yeah.
It's very clear and gold and
Yeah.
it's super sci-fi and very alien looking. What did you think of that whole sequence?
I thought it was really well constructed. I love the fact that it changes from the black to the gold. The colors were great. It just lands and opens up kind of like almost a interdimensional like gateway or portal. And the way that they frame it, the way that they do it, it was really unique. The ground shaking was good. Like they really put into thought, like, okay, we have something going into the ground that probably weighs a couple of thousands of tons.
Mm-hmm.
What will be the reactions to it. So it was very well constructed. I love it.
Yeah, and I wonder why it went into the ground. I'm not sure. It was weird that it just kind of like goes down and then tilts out and stuff. But it was definitely cool and really well
Yeah.
done there. Um, I made a point to write down too that I thought in this moment it would be like this awe-inspiring thing for Salvor. Like she sees this amazing thing happen. You see this vault that she's seen since she was like her entire life kind of open itself to her from something she did. But she immediately has this kind of like this cautiousness to it where she says like this is where it ends. She seems to have this like
Yeah.
ominous feeling about everything that maybe is going to be explained in the next episode, but she does not seem happy or relieved at all. It's more just like this thing's open now, and now like it seemed like she was referencing like now the bad stuff's going to happen, like she has kind of a feeling of stuff before we do as an audience, because I feel like
Yeah.
the natural reaction is, oh my god, this is so cool, this thing is finally, its mysteries are being revealed to us, I guess. So we go from that scene, that crazy scene, and again a really well directed scene with the flashbacks through Gale's perspective and stuff as well. I thought it was
Yeah.
really well done.
I love when they figure out the Prime Radiant. She's in Gale's clothes, and thought that was a
Hmm.
really great take on that. Same
Yeah,
position, same everything.
really cool. We cut to Invictus. It looks like Rowan is still alive. And
Mhm.
also it is revealed that Farah is missing off of the Invictus. It's
Yeah.
revealed that Farah has hopped on an Thespin Lancer and is looking to commandeer the ship. So
Yeah.
she has one of the ships slave to her. I don't know
One of my
how she did, but yeah.
one of the things I hate the most about Farah is she has a history of this, and so far no one said no, because it's like Aaron's like, "Oh, do this for me." Okay, boom, kills him. Do this for me. Okay, boom, kills him. When do you get to the point where like someone's gonna be like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that. Why am I gonna
Yeah.
give you the ship? You're gonna kill me anyway." I just got so tired of it. And like it happens with the Thespin pilot. I'm like, can we not just like have Farah just go, "Give me this item"? Okay, boom.
Yeah, and it to your point too. She has been like, I'm just gonna murder my way out of situations for a long time,
Yeah.
and then it kind of changes later in the episode that I'm gonna get to. But one of my questions that was raised there is regarding kind of Farah's intentions, because she does something later in the episode that I didn't think really jives with her
Yeah.
her personality there. So she commandeers one of the ships, and then we go back to Brother Dawn, who's awakening in a tied to a chair with those unsavory characters all around him, and he sees himself starts transferring nanobots, the Imperial nanobots, from
Yeah.
our Cleon, our Brother Dawn, to this new kind of fake
Yeah.
Cleon there. And then all of a sudden the plan is revealed. Now we did get a prediction right, so we're gonna give ourselves a pat on the backs for that too. But the prediction right that we got last episode was that we did say in this one we thought the insurrectionists were going to make themselves known, and they definitely did.
Yes, they did.
Where what we didn't expect, or what I didn't expect, I don't know about you, is that Azura was one of the insurrectionists. I think maybe you raised that. I think maybe you raised that theory early on in one of the episodes, but I think we
More
had
than
kind of
likely,
dropped
yeah.
it. That
Yeah.
Azura was one of the insurrectionists that were trying to kind of take down Trantor.
Yeah, I think we dropped it just because we were just like, nah, she like if they're making her into a very important character for Brother Day or Brother
Mm-hmm.
Dawn. She can't be all the way bad, but yep, we were wrong.
Right. So they reveal that it seems like the imperfections, and there's another thing that I'm gonna get into predictions with later as well regarding this, but the imperfections that manifested in Brother Dawn were of their design. So something
Yep.
about they were able to sneak out DNA from the Imperium, and then I forget. Can you elaborate on how they were able to change his DNA? Did they say or?
They didn't say, they just said they started manipulating it from the get-go. Like they were able to start manipulating it. They manipulated him to have all these defects, and then he was designed like that on purpose.
So, it alludes to a point I'm going to make in predictions what later as well. He's revealing his master plan, very Doctor Evil-esque. They're talking about everything that's going to happen. That he's, his master plan and
Yep.
everything, and that he and Azora have been working towards this for a long time, because he says the genetic dynasty is an abomination and should be destroyed. So these are definitely kind of the terrorist insurrectionists that they had been fearing. And then in a turn that I wasn't expecting, all of a sudden our resident badass Shadow Master Obrick comes in his invisibility suit. I
Yep,
love the shot where he walks through blood with the invisible suit on. I
I
thought that
love
was
it.
so cool. I just remember being like, this guy's such a badass.
When the massacre happens, I
Hmm.
just love the fact that you just see the doppelganger of brother Don just kind of sit there, go, and you see his neck goes back and it's like it spills open. I thought that was a
Right.
really great shot. Like it was very well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, and future reference people, if you I guess if you're trying to kill someone with Imperial nanobots, the neck slitting is does the trick, no problem. So
Yep.
if you could slit the throat, the Imperial nanobots can't really do anything about it. So just make a mental note of that, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brother Dusk and the Imperial troops come in and straight up massacre all of these insurrectionists. It turns out that Brother Dusk had been monitoring the Dragonfly droid that Dawn and Azura were using to kind of show him the world. So they kind of knew pretty much everything that they were doing.
Yeah.
And Dusk was monitoring that, and he used Brother Dawn to try to escape to find their hideout. So he was
Yep.
kind of tracking Brother Dawn, waiting. So it seems like Brother Dusk in a really cool move just kind of had his hands all over the situation from the get-go. He knew exactly what was going on. He had Brother Dusk pegged from the beginning, and this was all a ploy to try to find these insurrectionists and root them out. And for that, I think he gets a round of applause. I think that's a pretty that was
Yeah.
pretty impressive forethought on his part. And it also brings me to a point where I want to talk about, which is I thought Terrence Mann was fantastic in this episode.
Oh yeah.
um I love his range. If you remember back on like episode 3 when they show him in his late stages of life and then turning into Brother Darkness, there's like a
Yes.
vulnerability and tenderness to him in that episode, and then this one he's got this intensity to him that I thought was like really palpable in these scenes. I remember thinking like, wow, he's really embodying that brother Dusk, the one that blew up Thespin and Anacreon. I was
Yeah.
just like, that seems like the same guy, and I thought that was really well done for
Oh
him,
yeah.
performance wise. I think he was probably my acting standout of the episode. Yeah, what did you think of the Dusk reveal that he knew everything all along?
One of the things that I thought was really great about the episode was how it framed the two Cleons. One, the bad one in like darkness, like really dark light, and the other one in like really bright lights. I thought that was really cool. The Brother Dusk reveal was amazing. I love the fact that he just kind of, yeah, I've known from the get-go, and how like cavalier he was about it. And I do agree with you. Terrence Mann's performance killed it. Like it was just a unique performance, and he mirrored exactly what the other his younger self
Hmm.
would have done. Like he incorporated a completely different persona, and that was really great. We've said it that the acting, like Lee Pace, Terrence Mann, Cassian Bilton,
Hmm.
they've been able to play so many unique characters just using the same person, and I've
Right.
really enjoyed that. Like the Cleons, but this one definitely, like I agree with you. Terrence Mann stole the show. Like
Hmm.
he killed it.
Yeah, it's definitely been my most of the three kind of major storylines. The Cleon stuff has been really the most interesting for me. It's been the stuff that's made me want to tune in the most and get me excited about each episode. He says something that I think sets up a really interesting conflict in the next episode. That we'll probably talk on predictions. I think there's gonna be a lot of predictions in this one just because there's a lot of consequential
Yeah.
stuff that happened in this episode. But he says that Brother Dawn says it's not your call to make, it's Brother Day's call to make, and Dust says you're correct. Brother Day is on his way here. So Brother Day, coming back from the Maiden, has still not made his way to Trantor yet. He's on the way, and Brother Dust says he hasn't made it yet, but he will make the ultimate call as to essentially whether or not we kill you or we keep you around. And then
Yeah.
he says a quote that he says, "I doubt his experience on the Maiden has made him more serene." And I said, and that kind of calls back to what we talked about last episode with whether or not
Yeah.
I think I think it's very possible that Brother Day's experiences on the Maiden did make him more serene because
Yes.
he did go through that spirit walk and was helped by that man. So it is possible that he's softened some in this trip. So that's going to be a big reveal for it's gonna set up a really great conflict between Day and
Yeah.
Dusk
Yeah.
in the next one, and it's also going to be very interesting to see how Day handles this crisis and situation given his past experience on the Maiden. So it goes from that scene back to Terminus, I believe. Is that right? Salvor, because she has cracked the vault, the null field that has been keeping people asleep through this entire thing has been lifted. So everyone that was knocked out from the null field has arisen. and they're all running to the vault, and the Anacreons are as well. So we've got this tense standoff between the Anacreons and Terminus, and then all of a sudden Hugo's warships fly in. The cavalry comes in. There's these cool like handguns. They're
Yeah.
like these little remote controls that they use with their hands, and it turns the gunships on them. And I thought that was kind of a cool thing. The spacecraft flying, I mean, the graphics were amazing in this episode. The spacecraft flying in particular felt a little didn't feel up to par for me. I remember thinking like these,
Yeah.
but it's a TV show, so I'm just kind of like it's tough to like
Yeah.
critique it that much. But there were a lot of moments where I was like, oh, that CG doesn't look that great compared to all the other
Yeah.
stuff.
And I one of like this has been my biggest criticism of the show so far. I've been very harping about it. Farah does all these crazy things, and somehow everything just turns up in her favor. Like violence is always the answer to her.
Hmm.
And when she's starting to shoot like the other ships, it's just like, okay, so she shoots that, she comes back around, she shoots the one, it starts falling down, but all of a sudden it jerks back up and hits the other one. It's like,
Yeah.
how is that? Like, I just can't stand the fact that she has like the perfect everything just goes in her favor. I just can't stand it. And
Yeah, there are a lot of plot moments that feel convenient. That being one of them is that she's able to kind of take out those two gunships pretty easily coming in.
yeah,
The other thing though that kind of irked me more than that was that her intention is to kill all of them, and she was in a ship that had a bunch of guns that she could have just taken them all out like right
yeah,
then. And I remember thinking she kind of shoots them, circles around, takes out the two gunships, then she lands, um, and gets out of the ship alone to have
yeah,
this tense standoff. And I remember thinking like, this doesn't fit with her. I feel like Farah up until this point would have just probably kamikaze bombed all of them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like just to
exactly.
take them all out at this point, or at least just pick them all off and shoot them all from her gunship. I don't think she really. They were all planning to suicide bomb Trantor. So I remember thinking like, why is she like getting out of the ship to like talk to them, and then they set it up that she's gonna shoot them after, and I'm like, why wouldn't she just shot them in the ship to begin with? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
That seemed a little inconsistent for me, and like you said, it did seem convenient that she was able to take out those two gunships that kind of easily, and it sets up a what is it called, a Mexican standoff where it's like three people, the
yeah,
Thespins, the Anacreons, and Terminus all kind of pointing guns at each other.
yeah. And then the Anakians point guns on Farah because they're like they lost
Mhm.
hope with her because they're like, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
And then the vault starts opening up with something, and she's like, I'm gonna blow up the vault instead now.
Hmm.
Arr.
She starts shooting at the vault, and that's when Salvor makes the decision. She goes and grabs Farah's fabled mythical bow, very important sacred bow from Anacreon, picks it up and kills the Huntress of Anacreon with her own bow. Thought that was a good. Yeah, I know you're really relieved Farah's gone.
So happy.
You said something really interesting a couple seconds ago, which was Farah, violence is always the answer.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on that because I think one of the things that's good about Farah's character is that she presents a really good foil for Salvor. Because
Yes.
if you remember when the Anacreons first showed up in their gunships to Terminus and they were in the sky, Lewis was trying to make kind of diplomatic solutions and say we need to hail them, call Terminus, and Salvor was very much like, we need guns, we need to get
Yeah.
defenses ready, and we need to be ready to attack if all this stuff happens. She seemed very okay with violence at that point, and I think it's showing her maturity over the season, and kind of her arc has been her leaning more towards diplomacy because she sees where the violence route takes her in Farah. So I think
Yeah.
when she sees Farah, she sees what that violence, no matter what mentality, brings you. And I think she in this episode tells them we can all use Invictus and work together. And I think that's kind of an arc for her
Yeah.
of moving toward a more diplomatic understanding of things.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I agree with you on that one, that she
Mhm.
is a good foil to Salvor. Like she is the violence and Salvor is the diplomacy, because Salvor saw the life that she had, and she saw like more of her life and ways that she could have changed and not go so deep into violence. And I think you are right that when she did that, she realized she needs to start taking more diplomatic approach. That's why she started working on Rowan, start
Right.
trying to change his mind, start trying to let him know, like, hey, look, I feel what you're feeling,
Hmm.
and I'm the same way. We all have doubts about what Farah really wants to do. She's up to something, and she's not telling you guys what she's up to.
Right. And it
So
directly, and that change directly goes back to a quote from a boss early in the episode where he says, um, violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. And I
yep,
think that that ties all of that together. And it says that now Salvor kind of understands what a boss meant when he said that. It's the last refuge of the
yeah,
incompetent. It's the easy way out. It's and she sees that in Farah. So I think that whole thing, even though Farah's intentions or her I'm sorry, her motivations for doing the
yeah,
things felt super shallow to me, and I didn't like that. She didn't have a good reason for wanting to do the things that she did. Really, I like that foil and that kind of circular reasoning of violence being the last refuge of the incompetent,
yeah,
and Salvor kind of coming to that full circle in this episode. And
yeah,
then we go from that because I think we're about in an hour here, so we'll go
yeah.
ahead. We're gonna go into our predictions here, but right before we
Oh
do that,
wait,
the big reveal
yes, please.
is the vault opens up, and who should walk out? A blurry figure reveals himself to be Harry Seldon. Walks out and says, "I've got Thespins and Anacreons. We must be doing something right. Hopefully, there's still hope for the galaxy." So this all seems like old Harry knew it all along,
Yep.
and he walks out. The question becomes for me: is he Harry Seldon, or is he like a hologram, or so, like how is he manifesting in this way? And we'll get into that in predictions, I think. But
Yes.
what did you think of this reveal at the end of the episode?
It was kind of, it wasn't that it was obvious, but you kind of figured that it had something to do with Harry, like why Terminus, why this
Hmm.
random monolith vault that's just there that has a null field. What what is this all about? What is it supposed to do? What is it supposed to make sense? So you kind of figure that there is a reason for it, and he probably put himself there. Like that's
Hmm.
probably him or his conscience or something that to do with him. But when you actually see it as actually what we assume to be is him,
Right.
you kind of think like, did he just create like cloning out of nowhere, and he just cloned himself so far in advance that he just threw himself there?
Yeah, I don't know, and I will get into that quickly in predictions. There, I thought it was. I thought I thought it was fine. I thought the reveal was fine. I will say I think it would have been more impactful had we not already had Harry come back to life 3 episodes ago, or
Yeah,
you know
with
what I
on
mean,
the ship.
on the Raven ship. I think had this been like a season long thing and then he came back at this point, it would have been like kind of mind blowing. But I think we've just seen Harry come back to life after death like a couple episodes ago, so this doesn't
Yeah,
seem as left field or crazy as I think the show wanted it to be in this moment. But it does bring up a lot of interesting things going into the next episode and potentially into season 2. But we're going to go ahead and jump in our predictions here and try to be as quick as possible with it here.
yes.
I did want to make one first one while I'm thinking about it too. Cyber Erectus, who has been a really great contributor
Oh
and kind of
yeah,
discussing with us on the show, he made a comment on the last episode about Gale going into hypersleep or cryostasis twice. And he says he laughed and said something along the lines of Gale seems like she's the sleeper or something like that, and it was kind of a throwaway joke. And I remember thinking, I actually think that holds a lot more weight than I think he thinks it
yeah,
does. So I wanted to get into a quick theory that I think I brought up in the first episode that I think still holds water now, which is my theory was that the vault is the foundation. So I think what the vault is where how whatever they build with the second foundation on Star's End or in Helicon that they're building there, whatever the fruits of their labor is the vault, and it's been left there in the past to be available when this crisis happens. So that was my theory was this is like the foundation is the vault is the foundation. It's kind of the finished product of their labor, kind of being left for them at an opportune time where it will minimize the dark ages that they go through when these crises start. Because I think it's no coincidence that this crisis is happening now. The first crisis is happening now, and the vault is opening now. And so I think it fits with that, and it ties into the Gale is the sleeper thing too. I think that's possible as well. I
yeah.
think
I believe it.
I think if you factor in the time travel, you factor in the fact
136, 134 years, I think it is, or
right.
39 years.
And if we're under the assumption that things can potentially travel to the past, which I am with that theory about the vault, then it could stand to reason that at some point Gale goes back into the past to potentially fix Synax. She meets maybe more primitive people at that point, and she becomes the deity that she was worshiping to begin with. I think
Yeah.
that's very possible, and I think that could be something that's revealed later on and would be kind of interesting. It's like a circular loop at that point.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, what do you think of that prediction? The two predictions, just to clarify, the vault is the foundation and Gale
Yeah.
is the sleeper. Those are my two bold predictions that I have right now.
I'm gonna jump off the time wagon because it's failed me so many times. So
Yeah.
I'm jumping off the time wagon
True.
real quick. Instead
Yeah.
of the bandwagon, the time wagon.
Yeah, time
Coined
wagon.
it. That's mine. Thank you.
There you go. You're right, Brian.
Thank you. But
Yeah.
no, I honestly I think what it is, the first crisis is gonna expand more on more stuff. I think we're gonna find out more on Salvor, who she really is, because now with Harry there's going to be a lot of questions being asked. I think the vault's something else. I think it's kind of like the monolith, that it's an ancient relic that helps mankind evolve.
Mhm.
Because one of the things that harken back to the conversation that Salvor had with her dad Abbas was, they're like, yeah, man came from Earth apparently, or someplace. And they kind of name drop Earth and stuff like that. And I think the vault could be the monolith that helped mankind evolve.
Mhm.
And this is where it is now. This is where its current place is, and it's going to help mankind evolve again.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think it's just an ancient relic that's what it does.
Yeah.
Harry knew it, but Harry wasn't able to get to it, so he was able to use his the Orby thingy-majiggy. I can't remember the name of it right now, but
I think that's what it's actually called, the Orby thingamajiggy. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Is
So
the scientific term for it.
Yeah, the Orby twist twirl open. I think that helped bring some of Harry's consciousness into there, and kind of will be the kind of like how Kal-El is the spiritual guide of the Fortress of Solitude in Superman. Even though it's not him, but it's a hologram. I think it's the same thing. That it's just a something like that.
It mirrors that mirrors, if it's kind of like it's funny you say that, because that mirrors the knife, because they bring the knife with the little chip on it to the Raven, and it's kind of imbued with his consciousness and kind of imbues the ship with the consciousness at that point. So it kind of parallels that, where if the I forgot what it's called too now. The Prime Radiant. If the Prime Radiant activated the vault and imbued it in kind of a futuristic sense potentially, then it would kind of imbue it with Harry's consciousness at that point too. So that's a good point you bring up that I didn't really think of as well. I have one other bold prediction that I think tie together, really two, but they're kind of related.
Okay.
I think the insurrectionists got the DNA from Demerzel.
So we're bringing back my theory.
Yeah, I think Demerzel would make the most sense as someone that would be able to smuggle DNA out. She makes the most sense as being able to implement the changes to the DNA that I think we've talked about in a prediction previously as well, that you brought up, that she's maybe changing the DNA for Brother Dawn. So that seems to hold weight as well. But I think she's working with the insurrectionists. I think she's the one that provided them, and that may be revealed in the next episode or not. I don't know. But the other thing that I was going to bring up as well is I think Harry is an android. So I think he's kind of like Demerzel. I think the Harry that we're seeing is probably an android, like Demerzel, that is kind of coming back. But those are my big bold predictions that are most likely all incorrect. But I think they're fun to make, guys. Do you have any other big ones before we head out?
We figure out who Salvor's real parents are.
Okay. In the next episode or in the next season, or what? Do you know? You think it's going to be the next episode that we find out?
It's either going to be the next episode at the beginning of season 2, because I think that's such an important thing, because the amount of flashbacks she's having with Gale and Raish, there's got to be something to those flashbacks. So one of those two has to be her parents. Right. Like that's my big one. It's we figure out her lineage, who she is, and stuff like that. And I think we figure out who was the true perpetrator of the DNA mix-up. Like we figure out who it is. I still say it's Demerzel because I've been calling it, and I hope to be right. So I think she is. So too. I think she's been working with it, and I think her resolve got pushed to like, yes, I am going to make sure that this goes and gets destroyed after when she was forced to kill Halima. I think that finally made her realize that she was
a breaking point for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are definitely awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Super big consequential episode for this one. A lot of stuff occurred in this one. So guys,
Yeah.
be part of the discussion, guys. If you have any theories or what did you guys think of the episode, make sure to drop it in the comments and discuss that with us down below. If you guys go to the dismedia.com, I did just post a review for Dune. So a lot of you
Nice.
sci-fi guys might be into my takes on Dune potentially. So make sure to
I
check
gotta read
that
it
out.
after
I'll link
this.
that in the description below as well. Yeah, again, we're doing the Discuss Hawkeye podcast. So if you guys are into that, into Marvel at all, watching this as well, join us for that one. That one's going to be a lot of fun.
Check
We're
it
going to be
out.
doing like Christmas festivities and traditions while we're going through the season.
Nice.
It's gonna be really awesome. Do you have anything you're working on or any reviews that you posted recently?
I just posted a review about Phenomex. It's a comic. I'm working on a Switch review for Gun Young. It's a original Sega Genesis game that came out in 1991, and they released
cool.
it for the Switch. And outside of that, that's about it. I'll probably write a review of this episode. It'll probably go up Friday when you guys listen to this, so that way we stay
Nice.
within the current trend of like release schedules and stuff like that, not get in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got going on.
Awesome, man. Well, this was amazing. This was really great. As always, guys, respect and enjoy the peace. May the light never dim, and triple blessings to you all. We'll see you guys later.
Take care.